Now, Elizabeth Warren recently made a speech to Democratic donors where she called out the Democratic Party for not being bold enough on issues like the stimulus package and especially Obamacare. Now, that's what I'm actually going to focus on. Now, according to Talking Points memo, Warren was talking to donors gathered by a different liberal group on Monday, and she told them that, look, hey, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, it's not bold enough. It wasn't progressive enough, and therefore it hurt the Democrats, especially when it comes to messaging to the working and middle class voters. Now, Warren said that Democrats were not able to effectively tell voters that they were fighting for the little guy after making compromises on Obamacare. Now, I'll get into one of the compromises, too, that really frustrated the hell out of me. Now, she told donors that if Democrats had acknowledged the shortcomings of the legislation and pledged to work for more, like a single payer or system, or at least a public option, then the party's message about health care might have actually been more effective. Now, remember, Obamacare has a pretty high disapproval rating. But when polled, a lot of people, a majority, were actually like, no, this isn't progressive enough. This isn't liberal enough. We don't have a public option. And see, when Republicans report on that, well, they never report that people don't think it's liberal enough. They just report that people hate it. People hate it. They want it repealed. Repeal and replace. Repeal and replace. Yeah, if you replace it with a Medicare for all plan, more people would be happy. Or at least a public option, because people like to have an option. A government option or a private insurance option. That would be great. Now, what Elizabeth Warren is saying, I totally agree with. The problem with the Democrats on the ACA is basically they did Romney Care and then were like, mission accomplished, hang the banner, we're done. When in reality, the ACA, while it does a lot of good, is a flawed piece of legislation, which of course Republicans use as a cudgel. They jumped all over it with that repeal and replace, repeal and replace. Okay, well, repeal and replace. Replace it with what? Exactly. See, for a long time, they didn't have a plan. They just said, repeal and replace. And sometimes we forget the replace part. Just repeal. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Okay. Well, their plan is essentially roll everything back and maybe do high-risk pools and health savings accounts. Ooh. Wow, that sounds so great. Thanks, Republicans. Basically bringing it back to essentially what we had in 2008. So, but look, this is what I say, like, when Democrats suck at getting out their message. They do. They don't talk about a vision. They're bad at articulating that. But again, I have to go back and tell them, what do you expect? You instituted the right-wing healthcare plan. The conservative healthcare plan you adopted. What did you think was going to happen? They came up with this. You don't think they know what the weaknesses are? Of course they do. They fucking wrote it. God, Democrats frustrate me. And look, the Republicans knew the weaknesses and they said, oh, good, we can use politics to basically club Democrats over the head with this piece of legislation that we came up with that they adopted on a national level. And they smacked them upside the head. And the Democrats, look, they couldn't come out and said, hey, you know what, Republicans? You are right. It is a flawed piece of legislation. We would like to make it better. And you know why they didn't do that? Because they were afraid of hurting Obama's legacy. His crowning achievement. And look where that got him, man. Republican control of the White House, the Senate, and the House. Oh, the Republicans are about to wipe that legacy out of existence, man. That is the first thing that they want to do. Now, look, Donald Trump is a little bit different than the rest of the Republicans, right? He says he wants to keep some of the more popular provisions. For example, one of them is the ban on pre-existing conditions. He's like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, we shouldn't ban pre-existing conditions. Also, kids should be able to stay on their college, on their parents' health care plan until they're 26. Yeah, I think that's a tremendous idea. That's a good idea. I'd like to keep that. Yeah, okay, great. However, the law, if you do that, it's not going to work. You see, without an individual mandate to keep the costs from ballooning exponentially and keep health insurance companies from going bankrupt, from covering only the sick people who will enroll, because look, let's be honest, the healthy people, if without an individual mandate, healthy people have no incentive to buy into the system. And if you ban pre-existing conditions, then what's to prevent somebody who's healthy from not paying into that system for most of their life? Then they get sick, they get cancer, or they get into an accident. I want health insurance. I'm gonna buy into health insurance. They can't be denied. Well, look, the health insurance companies, they're gonna be like, what the fuck? We are actually gonna lose a lot of money because we're not getting that money from healthy people. And look, this is the way the law was written. It's like, yeah, well, health insurance companies need that stream of revenue from people who are healthy to cover those who are sick. That's the whole thing. That's the reason that it actually works the way that it works. Now, it's still a flawed piece of legislation because they built it on a for-profit model. But I'm just explaining how this is supposed to work. That you can't just take the individual mandate out and expect the insurance company not to collapse in on itself. That's how this works. Yeah, I know because I've looked at the law. I've looked at the way that it's supposed to work. And it works, warts and all, in this way. So you can't just keep one or two popular provisions like what Donald Trump says. Now, furthermore, to get off the Obamacare thing for a minute, right? Now, Warren also said the Democrats did not do enough for homeowners. She's absolutely correct. And they didn't talk about the good parts of the stimulus package. In fact, she asked, what part of the stimulus do you remember? Anything? And one person yelled out, Solyndra. Because Republicans harped on it constantly. Solyndra, what a failure, absolute failure. When most of the investments in solar, about 90% of them, were actually very successful and led to successful businesses and jobs being created. But all everybody can remember from the stimulus is just Solyndra. Again, absolute failure at messaging. Now, where I disagree with Warren on is she says that Democrats failed in their ideology, not their messaging. I think they failed at both. And the reason I say that is because, look, the Democrats as a whole, and especially their leader, Hillary Clinton, if you're put up as the nominee for president, you're the de facto leader of the Democratic Party. She did not articulate a fucking vision. Obama, when he ran on hope and change. This time they ran into status quo. Let's keep everything the same and see how that works out. Well, look, it didn't work out. Now, let's be honest, Clinton won the popular vote by over 1 million votes. And they're still counting. But the way our system works is she has to get a majority in certain states. She did not get that. She didn't get the vote where it counted. Middle America. She won New York, California, Seattle. A lot of the liberal areas, right? And liberal areas generally have a lot more people in them. Now, it turns out that liberals, we already know the benefits of liberal policies. But there are people in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, they don't know. And the Democrats haven't done anything to educate them on that. That's why you got to tell them. And by the way, don't be condescending to them. Don't talk down to them. Don't assume that they're stupid because they don't know the benefits of the single-payer healthcare system. No, you have to engage them, show them why progressive policies work, and do it in a respectful way. And look, you also got to tell them, hey, this is the math. This is how this will benefit you, and not just you, but will benefit the rest of the country. This will help you and yours, your family. This is why these policies work. That's how you reach out. That's how you win. But you have to get out there and you have to do a message. You have to articulate a message and a vision to the American people that they can rally behind. And the Democrats failed at every single level of doing so. Now, finally, I have to give a little criticism here of Elizabeth Warren. Do you think that she would be giving the same kind of speech if Hillary Clinton had won the election? Maybe. And maybe not. The truth is, look, she was a good, loyal soldier for Hillary Clinton during the campaign. Clinton was the candidate of the status quo. And basically, what she argued is that everything's fine as it is. We don't need any change. Now, why wasn't Warren out there saying, no, we do need a change? Hillary Clinton is not going to bring you that change, but if you elect her, we can push her to change. Why wasn't she out on the campaign trail saying that? Now, look, I like Elizabeth Warren. I think she's a good progressive. But to think that she'd be saying the same thing, the same kind of fiery speech if Hillary Clinton had won, I don't know. I'm not necessarily sold on that idea anymore. There's a lot of doubt. And look, there are a lot of progressives that are still angry at her over what she did in the primary. I hear you, man. In fact, I got a good friend, Benjamin Dixon, does the Benjamin Dixon Show on YouTube. Great show, great progressive. If you haven't, check him out already. Benjamin Dixon on YouTube. Now, he told me, when we had a discussion about Elizabeth Warren, he said, look, I'm done with her. I don't want to talk about her anymore. Okay? I'm mad. I'm disillusioned. And I'm done with her. And that's how deep the resentment goes. And he's from Massachusetts, by the way. And look, I understand that, and that's why I'm bringing this up. Not to be overly critical of her. And look, maybe I'm being too critical, maybe I'm being unfair, but I don't think so. I think the primary is exactly when we needed Warren to speak up. But she didn't. She did not speak up. And that's why we're upset. And I think now because of that, for a lot of progressives, she doesn't carry the amount of weight like she used to. Now, I'm glad she's out here talking about this now because, look, on the fact, she's 100% right. But again, I think because of what happened, she lost a lot of her credibility in the progressive movement. And at a time where we need more progressives to speak up and to be active, it's just a shame. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.